Hello and welcome. I'm James from James Does Things, and today we are looking at 30 plus different side hustles, and we're going to rank each of them. If you think I've missed any off, please leave me a comment, let me know, or if you think I've got any in the wrong category. Most of these are going to be online only, so I'm not going to include things like driving for Uber or delivering pizzas, that kind of stuff, doing local jobs in your area. It's mainly concentrating on like online only stuff. Some of these, the kinds of things you'll see other YouTubers peddling as being like, yeah, this is it, this is the next best thing, and I'll sell you a course on this and blah blah blah. So, just to go through the ranks, S tier obviously is the best. That's like super duper. A is pretty good. B is not bad. C is meh, and then ADS is absolute dog shit or awful dog shit. So that's the ones you should absolutely avoid. So we're going to go through them. They're in alphabetical order. So without further ado, let's get cracking. Okay, the first one is affiliate marketing. This one, I think this is actually going to have to go. It's either going to have to go in A or in S. I'm probably going to put it in A just because on its own, it's not necessarily a side hustle. You generally have to pair it with something else. This can be very powerful and it's very scalable. So when I talk about affiliate marketing, I suspect most of you will know what it is, but what I mean by it is promoting links to other people's products. So essentially, the things I've got listed are things like ClickBank, affiliate window, or you just promote other people's products and you get a cut. Lots of people use this, lots of people on YouTube use it. Generally speaking though, you need an audience to send it to. It is very powerful, but I'm going to put it in A rather than S just because you need something else to go with it. It's not just something you can do on your own usually. Okay, so first, good start, A tier. The next one is blogging. I have tried blogging. I tried it for a long time. I think I tried it in lots of niches, and I think because I tried it in too many niches, it didn't really work that well. And the niche that I tried hardest in was basically a precursor to what I'm doing now, which was just writing about my own sort of making money online journey, which is a very hard niche to get into. So and eBay and things like that. So I'm going to put this in B tier. It takes a long time to get any traffic and get any traction. Otherwise it would be an A tier. It's very powerful, and I think if you do it right, you can make a really, really good living. Okay, next on the list, it's Cashback. So Cashback websites. This is a firm C. It's not awful dog shit. Some of them are awful dog shit, but my first ever video, if you go back to if you have a look on my channel, is actually a review of Complete Savings, which is a really good cashback site, which I've made a lot of money with. A lot of cashback sites like Swagbooks aren't actually that great, but no one ever got rich from a cashback site. Honestly, it's a useful thing to save a bit of money or to get an extra kickback when you have to buy things online. So it's definitely not a way of making money. It's a way of saving money. So that's why it's a C. It's not dog shit, but it's definitely not a good way of making money. Okay, next on the list, it's competitions. So this was a thing once upon a time where people with lots of spare time, like sort of new mums who are on maternity leave and students and people like that, would basically spend a lot of time entering competitions. And because they entered so many, they would actually win some quite decent prizes, things like cars, laptops, iPads, all that kind of stuff. I did try this a long time ago, and honestly, it wasn't worth it at all. You ended up spending a lot of time filling in a lot of information and giving away a lot of personal details. And a lot of times the competitions would be like, yeah, you'll hear from us in 6 months. And by that time, you wouldn't even know if you'd won it because your email was so full up with junk. And he also got a lot of spam phone calls. So this is firmly in the awful dog shit tier. And we're not going to say any more about competitions. Next on the list is courses, selling courses. So doing video tutorials on websites like Teachable, Udemy, Kajabi. This is pretty good. People make some serious money at this. This is I wouldn't say it's an easy side hustle to get into, because you have to spend quite a bit of time up front making a tutorial, and then you've probably got to, depending on what niche you're in, you might have to compete with a lot of people to actually just be seen, unless you've already got an audience. So I'm probably going to pop this in. I don't know whether to call it A or B. I'm probably gonna put it in A, because some people sell courses for thousands of dollars. Literally, like, there's $5,000-6,000 a pop. So it really can be a good earner. So I'm going to put it in A, and it's not, the only reason it's not S is because, like affiliate marketing, you need an audience to go with it. So really, you need social media and or YouTube to go with it. So on its own, I think it's difficult to make a really, really good earning, but I'd say it's definitely A tier, because once you've made your digital product, your course, then it's made, and it'll just keep you making you money. Okay, next on the list is crowdfunding. So when I say crowdfunding, I mean things like, it can be anything from Patreon, Ko-fi, or even Kickstarter, GoFundMe, that kind of thing. These, I think Patreon, I think really the thing with all of them is that you need an audience first. Patreon is quite a good, there are some people who make really good use of that, and they put sort of Patreon only content on it and things like that. There are some people I follow on YouTube who do that. But most of the stuff, you already need an audience. There's a really good South Park episode called Go Fund Yourself, which is all about Kickstarter, and it's really on point, and it really explains the fact that you actually have to do all the work, and they do very little. I'm going to put it in B. It is better than a cashback site, but again, you need an audience already. So next on the list is crypto mining. Okay, I put this in for completeness because it is something I used to do. This is definitely, I don't know if it's awful dog shit or if it's, I'm going to put it in C tier, because there were times when it was financially viable. At the moment, 2023, the summer of 2023, it definitely isn't financially viable. Next one is drop servicing. So this I think this is an A tier. This is something I've really considered. So when I say drop servicing, I mean essentially creating a business that provides a service, like, say, marketing, or in my case, I was going to do it for doing drawing and engineering, because that's my background. And then basically you go out and get kind of premium customers, and then go to places like Fiverr and Upwork and get people who charge a lot less from other parts of the world, of which there are many on Fiverr, to actually do the work for you. This can be very, very lucrative. I actually thought about doing this for doing drawing work, just because I took on some clients and then didn't really enjoy doing the work. So that's something I've definitely considered. This can be massive, I think, if you do it right. There is some risk involved, and obviously there's a bit of work up front in getting the clients, but I think that could be very lucrative, and it is something I've considered doing. So moving on, the next one is dropshipping. So this is, I couldn't really not do dropshipping, because it is all over YouTube. I have tried dropshipping, but never in a really sort of wholehearted way. I've tried dropshipping from AliExpress to eBay. I've tried dropshipping kind of from AliExpress and locally to Shopify stores and to eBay, with some success, but not enough to keep doing it. There's a lot of risk. Where there's profit, there's risk, essentially, because if you're selling things from the Far East locally in Europe or America, then the delivery times are huge, and sometimes the products aren't that great. And if you're trying to do it locally, I find that the profit margins just aren't there at all. There's almost no profit to be had. So should it be A? There's so many people who've done it and said they've made a killing with it, and lots of YouTubers who I follow said this is how they got their first, their first 10 grand or whatever, their first kind of, they made money doing this to then go on to other things. So I don't know whether to put it in A or B. I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt. I'm gonna put it in A, just because I think it's so accessible, it can be scaled. The only thing is the sustainability. Most of the people you talk to who've done it aren't still doing it anymore, because either they got caned off the platform, or they got such bad feedback that they had to stop doing it. So right, next one is I've put eBay, but it's just general flipping, so it's kind of buying things to sell. eBay's the most obvious one. You could call it Facebook as well, and possibly even Amazon or Etsy. I think this has got to be S tier, just because it's so accessible. you can literally go and find things for free on Facebook and then try and sell them on eBay. You can literally start with no money. On eBay, you can list things for free. There's no better way really I think in the truth, sort of side hustle spirit, there's no faster way, possibly other than Facebook Marketplace, than of making money than sticking your stuff on eBay or, like I said, Facebook. So, and you can scale it. As long as you can find somewhere to get things cheap and cheaper than they sell for generally on eBay, then it is scalable. So I think that's got to be S tier. Possibly controversial, but let me know. Let me know in the comments. See what you think. Next one is Etsy, but this is something I've seen. This is not just any old Etsy. This is digital products on Etsy. So selling. There's all sorts of things you can do. Selling planners, printables, just all sorts of things. Even like designs, bundles of designs for other people to sell. Things that you can make in Canva. So there's lots of different things you can make and then try and sell on Etsy. I'm torn whether to put this in A or B. There's a lot of people saying they're making good money at it. It does seem to be, because the barrier to entry is so low, you can use a free tool to make everything. I think I've got to put it in A, really. I do like digital products because once they're made, they're made. That is kind of one of the underpinning things of any kind of passive income. So I'm going to stick it in A. I've never really tried this, I must be honest. So certainly not. I did try selling ebooks once, or selling like a PDF that I wrote with absolutely zero success, but it wasn't really well marketed or well written. So yeah, let me know what you think. What do you think about Etsy? Have you tried selling digital products on Etsy? I have seen lots of people peddling the videos, but I don't know how many of them have actually made money doing it. Yeah, let me know what you think about that one. Moving on, next on the list is Amazon FBA. So I think this has got to go B tier. I think it's very scalable. If you don't know what I mean by Amazon FBA, it's fulfilled by Amazon. So it's where you, instead of just selling stuff on Amazon as like a private retailer, you send, instead of waiting for Amazon, like eBay, waiting for Amazon to tell you there's been a sale and then you post or fulfill the order. Basically, you just throw everything into a big box with the packaging on it and send the box to Amazon, and Amazon puts it in their warehouse like it's their own stuff. There is a charge for it. There's a charge for them storing it and processing it on top of the already fairly hefty charges they impose on sellers. So this is, for me, it can't be A because it's so risky. You need money to do it because you need money to buy the products up front, and then you've got the added risk of, well, if it doesn't sell, Amazon are going to be charging you money. And some people, they say, well, when the products don't sell fast enough, you've actually got to just pay Amazon to send it back to you. Or ask Amazon to send all the stock back to you, because it's cheaper just to dump it on eBay than it is to continue letting them hold on to it. So there's some risk in there and there's some money up front, which is why that's going to stay B tier. Let me know if you disagree. Okay, the next one is free stuff. So when I say free stuff, this isn't finding things like free furniture on Facebook. I'm gonna, selling it on eBay. I'm gonna call that in the kind of eBay flipping thing. This is free stuff websites, which it's not too dissimilar to competitions. They often run side by side and on the same website. Companies will offer you free stuff. Sometimes it's free plus shipping, which is a massive con. And it's usually just promotional stuff. It's like, oh, you can get this bar of soap, and then you go and click on it, and it's like, maybe you will get a free bar of soap, maybe you'll get a free bar of soap and an upsell to a load of other stuff. Generally, it's low value things. It's not, and it's a waste of time, and you have to give up loads of data. So your phone and your email will be bombarded with stuff. So this is going in the awful dog shit tier. Ignore. That is meant to be the it's free real estate guide, by the way. That's why that's there. It looks a bit creepy, but that's what that is. Right. Okay, moving on to freelancing. Freelancing is really good. It's not perfect because you're still swapping time for money, but the thing with freelancing is you decide how much it costs. I'm not going to put it as S tier because it is ultimately, you're still swapping time for money, but I think it is A tier. For a lot of people, I think would be better off if they started getting, for whatever you do, if you make things, digital things, or if you work in an office, there's a good chance you could do better on Fiverr. So that's going to go A tier. Next one is making stuff. So this is meant to be a person knitting so it's making stuff and then selling it on Etsy, because that is I would say the go-to place to sell stuff. I can't decide whether to put this in B or C. Most of the people I've seen, and I know two family members who make stuff, and they really struggle to compete on Etsy or on eBay or any marketplace really. Just because there's so much kind of manufactured stuff, even though Etsy's meant to be a homemade kind of platform. So if you combine this with something like social media or YouTube, it can rocket you up to A, because you can just charge whatever you like because people are prepared to pay it. If people can see your story and they can see your brand, and then you can start charging more for your stuff. But realistically, if you're just trying to make stuff and sell it, I'm going to put it in B. The only people I've seen who do well just making stuff and selling it are people who do personalised stuff and they sell it locally in Facebook groups. And that's usually making things with a Cricut, or Cricut, however you say it. So I'll give it the benefit of the doubt and put it B. Let me know if you disagree. That's a bit of a controversial one, but we're going to stick it with that. Right, moving on. Matched betting. This is a bit of an obscure one. This is definitely a UK thing. So essentially, matched betting is where you take advantage of bookmakers' offers. So betting websites will try to lure people in with offers. I think if you live in the UK, there's something like 40 or 50 different betting companies at any one time. Some of them, usually, some of them go bankrupt now and again, but these companies will lure you in. So the example here, it says if you bet £10, they'll give you £30 in free bets. So essentially, you use the free offers that they give you to make money. If they're offering you £30 in free bets, generally speaking, you can get 2/3 of that back in your pocket. I won't go into the details of it here, but essentially, it involves you make a qualifying bet and then you essentially hedge that bet on a different website, a different betting website somewhere else. You bet the opposite way. And you basically place the bets in amounts that mean that you lose little or no money. And then with the free money, you again bet in very specified amounts, so that whatever happens, because you're betting risk-free almost, then you always make money. I have done it and I have made quite a bit of money at it. It's definitely not A tier or S tier because it is hard work. You do really need some money to take advantage of it. You need, I'd say, at least £100 to begin with, and that's you could do with 1,000 if you wanted to do it properly. Also, it's a bit technical, and it's not as sustainable. When the betting companies realise you're doing it, they tend to cancel your account. So it can be sustained if you do it properly, but it's difficult. So I'm going to put this in B tier. You can make a living at it, and it is tax-free in the UK. Gambling winnings are tax-free, but that's where we're going to leave it. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Moving on, NFTs. Oh my god. Right. I'm going to put these in C tier. They kind of, at the moment, they are awful dog shit. And they, if you bought one at the height of the market, then they are awful dog shit. But I do believe I don't believe like this Bored Ape. I think people who did one drawing of a monkey and then just basically accessorized it and sort of did AI generated accessories and things. That's not art. That's not interesting. I don't see the value in that. I think there is a future for NFTs. I think if you look at the way that at the moment it's all kind of crypto companies who are trying to find interesting ways of doing it and making money. And I think the day that, say, gaming companies, someone tries to solve an actual problem with an NFT. If you look at games, like down here, we're going to do Roblox later, but if you look at online games and things like that, if they start to use blockchain or NFTs to say if you had an online game, like a shooting game, like Modern Warfare, Call of Duty, if you crafted a gun in the game, or you found a gun or whatever, and that gun then became an NFT, then that's interesting. That solves the problem of it being duplicated with glitches and all that kind of stuff. So it solves a problem for the company, that kind of thing. So basically, if some of the big boys, the big game makers start using NFTs, then NFTs will be, up here. But for now, they ought to be. They're almost down here. I believe in the technology, so I'm going to put it in C tier, but I definitely wouldn't buy an NFT anytime soon. Anyway, rant over. Right. Okay, the next one is online tutoring. This could probably cover a few other jobs as well. There are websites that will pay you to write. There are websites that will pay you to do translations, or even transcribing, things like that. Tutoring is the only one I've come across where someone says, I do this and it works and I make money at it. But it's more of a studenty thing, honestly. Most of the websites I've seen, to get any decent money, you've got to be doing it for a long time, and generally speaking, you'd be better off going to Fiverr and freelancing. So I'm going to put this in C tier. It's all right. You can make. It is probably better than anything else in C tier. Perhaps it should be B tier. Go on, we'll put it in B tier. You can make money at it, and there are websites that will pay you, but you perhaps could do better for yourself if you went somewhere else. Okay, next on the list, PLR, private label rights. If you've not come across private label rights, it's essentially bundles of, I would say, low quality ebooks, sometimes videos, that kind of thing, tutorials, info. It's info products that are kind of sold in bundles, and you can use them as freebies to tempt people, to get people onto your email list, that kind of thing. If you've got in the right niche, but it's like 2006 called, and they want their get rich quick scheme back. Get in the awful dog shit here. It's low quality bollocks, and it's just not even worth considering. So we're not going to say any more about it. Next one, print on demand. This is, I think this needs to, could be S, could it be A or S? I have tried this a little bit. I've tried stuff on Redbubble. I've never really tried it that seriously, honestly, but I think this is pretty good. I think it's definitely A tier, whether it's S tier. What do you think? I've come across several YouTubers who literally made their living. They made not just a living, they've made an absolute killing, and they're now millionaires because of print on demand. So again, you either need. The only reason I would say I am going to keep it in A tier and not S tier, because essentially I think to get going with it, you either need an audience like on social media, or you need paid adverts. But it's very, very scalable. It's not risk free completely, because depending on how you do it, if someone decides to return a t-shirt that you've made, just to be clear, when I say print on demand, for those of you who don't know, I do mean using websites like Printful or Redbubble to create products that aren't made until someone orders them, and then you either sell them on a website like Redbubble or Etsy, or indeed Shopify. You make your own shop. So it's kind of, you're creating products that aren't made until someone buys them. So it is very attractive. If someone decides to return a t-shirt, then quite often that is on you. So there is some risk to it, but it's generally, if you look at the people who've done really well out of it, you can't say it's not A tier really. So moving on, podcasting. I've never tried this. I know one person who's been involved in it, and I don't know how lucrative it was for him. I think this kind of goes hand in hand with YouTube. You see a lot of people who do this also do YouTube, and they just film themselves doing it. People like Joe Rogan, Andrew Huberman. I suppose it's got to go in A tier really, because you're just making your own content. I suppose you can't really say it's S tier, because it's going to take a while. You might do it for 6 months and not make a penny. I don't really know enough about it to say any different, so do leave me a comment if you make a podcast or if you tried it. How lucrative is it? Is it a a valid side hustle, or is it a hobby that might one day pay for itself? Right, next on the list is property. So when I say property, I don't mean, buying and selling houses. If you can afford to put a deposit down on a second home, then you don't need a side hustle. This is your side hustle. Well done. When I say property, I mean things like renting out your drive, renting out your spare room, renting out houses, and then doing what they call, there's this trend in the UK called HMO, like houses of multiple occupancy, which sounds very sketchy. You kind of rent a house off someone a landlord who basically doesn't give a shit, and then you change it inside to make it barely legal, and instead of having a big family house with 6 bedrooms, you have 6 individual rooms and you rent them all out at a big markup. So pretty sketchy and potentially needs lots of money. I'm going to put in C tier. I do know someone who's got like a little house on their land and they rent it out, and it's a good little side hustle, but it is work. And I do know, when I used to live in London, people used to rent the drives out because we lived near a train station that you could either park in for a lot of money or park nowhere near, so without getting fined. So, all right, I'm gonna call it B tier. Let me know what you think. Okay, next one is retail arbitrage. This is a strange one. This is where you pick things up that are on websites for kind of high street retailers, and then send them. It's kind of like dropshipping, and it's kind of like eBay flipping, but it's a bit dirtier. I do know people who've made quite a lot of money at this, but there's no longevity in it, because really, if you are selling things on eBay that are actually on sale in a local furniture shop or a kind of national chain of furniture shops, sooner or later someone's going to find out, in the packaging that arrives, there's going to be a receipt for an invoice for, a bed that you paid £400 for and you charge them £600 for. So I think it can work with going into local shops and, discount shops, finding good deals on branded products and things like that, but that's more flipping. So this is more the kind of drop shipping stuff. I don't know, I'm going to call it B tier. It can work, and I think it can scale, but I know people who combine this sort of thing with FBA. They go to a shop and literally just buy all this. So I know someone who went to IKEA and just bought every saucepan they had, and then fired them all off to Amazon for FBA. So it is a viable thing, or it can be, but it's a bit sketchy. Next, Roblox. This is a strange one because I don't really hear anyone talking about Roblox except for people who are basically children in the Roblox community. Roblox will pay you to make stuff. If you've never used Roblox, it's not really a game, it's a platform for games. So most of the content on Roblox is made by the users. Some of the content is quite good, and obviously companies have formed and they make games on the platform. There's a currency which things are bought with called Robux, and essentially if you can charge people Robux for things in your game, and then Roblox, the company, will give you money, like real money, in exchange for large amounts of this Robux. So there are lots of stories of teenagers and people who are still at school making really good money, like 10 grand a month from Roblox. And if you pair it with other stuff, the thing is, you can make, there's not just making games, there's making clothing items for the games, some of which is kind of like graphic design, but then there's also 3D modeling. You can make accessories for characters, which people will pay either Robux for, or you can then kind of go into the real world. There are kind of black markets for in-game items, but also for services. And then there's programming. People will pay for people to program aspects of Roblox. So there's it's a huge opportunity to make money. So I'm going to put this in A tier, because it does need a bit of skill, and it's a bit odd, and I don't think you're going to make any money straight away. But there's potential for, if you, my son is 11, and I want him to start, he plays this all the time, and I want him to start making things, because by the time he leaves school, if he's doing this, literally you could walk into a job as a programmer at age 18. If you spent the last 6 years as a child programming on this thing, you're going to walk into a job. And the same for if you've been doing 3D design or graphic design. You know, there's some real options. So I think this is huge and very undervalued. So, right, moving on. Amazon KDP. This is Kindle Direct Publishing, or self-publishing generally. I do know someone who's done this, and as far as I'm aware, they haven't done that well with it. There's different ways of doing it. You can publish, you can write a whole book and publish it, or you can do these like low content publishing things where you make like a colouring book or like a journal, like literally an empty book. People talk about making lots of money out of it. I think there's a lot more to it than it's definitely not S tier. I'm going to put it as B tier just because I think you could make something without spending any money. You could make a cover yourself, and you could make you could make the content yourself, but you wouldn't be able to promote it and no one would ever see it. So there are people who I know do make a living, but they spend money and they have books ghost written. They have someone make the cover for them, and then they have someone list it and promote it on Amazon for them. And essentially they outsource every step of the process, which I think can be quite lucrative. But I do like it because it's a digital product, but at the same time, it's once you've made it, and it just makes money in theory. But I think it's a hard thing to achieve, so I'm going to leave it in B tier. Right, next one is social media. Okay, next, social media. Honestly, I think it's got to go in S tier. I know you can't really necessarily make money from it directly, but it's just it's free to make, and it's just such a powerful way. There's so many stories of people who literally just with a phone created content and created a massive following, which they were then able to monetize. So I think social media's got to go in S tier. There's lots of different ways of doing it, and I don't think you need to necessarily be particularly attractive or talented or funny to do it. There are lots of people who just kind of like make social media farms almost, where they pick a niche and start creating content around that niche, and then once they've grown to a sufficient number of followers, then they start to monetize it. They start to get brand deals. They start to get other advertisers will come to them and say, look, can you do a post for me, on my product, that kind of thing, and you advertise my product. So social media is just so powerful, and I think Facebook as well, with they're all a bit different. Twitter's got a certain market. Instagram it's going more towards TikTok and YouTube Shorts. Facebook's, people give Facebook a hard time, and it's not the easiest to use. It's not the easiest to grow on, but it's just got so much utility, like Facebook groups. You can generate a community in a way that you can't necessarily do on any other platform. So social media in general is a big deal. So personally, I've never really made any money off social media. I did try making, just social media. I did try making a social media farm kind of thing, or at least I made an account about kittens where it was a bit scummy. I kind of copied other people's, I just downloaded and reposted other people's content, which I credited them to, and I copied them in on. Which I was actually, it was for someone who had cancer, and it was we made a GoFundMe account, and it wasn't really particularly well thought through, but I managed to grow it to 1,000 followers in less than a week. So if you pick the right niche and it's kind of got viral content, then you can grow things very quickly. So I didn't make any money at it. We didn't get many people go through, and actually, we didn't generate any revenue for the GoFundMe from it, but. It was proof of concept. There is it is a viable thing. So social media, if you do any kind of business, really, there's going to be a social media element to it. So it's hard to ignore, and I think because it's so easy to get into, it's sustainable so long as the platform is really there. Some platforms come and go, but yeah, it's got to be S tier for me. Right, moving on. So the next one is stock photos. So this is a bit of a strange one. I came across this. If you go to, I think it's like Adobe stock photos or Getty Images, there's a few companies which will, I think iStock as well as another one. There's a few companies which will pay you for your photographs, or at least they will host your photographs on their site as stock photographs, and then when other people use them, they credit you and they give you to be honest, it's only pennies. There was one person who did quite a detailed YouTube video about this, and they'd spent, I think it was years, like 2 or 3 years, uploading photographs. I don't remember the exact figures, but when it got to the end of the video, they said, and here's my final total. The most I ever made was $40 a month, and she'd put a lot of work in, and this wasn't her only source of income, but she'd uploaded a lot of photos and she got $40 a month. So for me, this has to go in absolute dog shit. It's so difficult to actually make any money at this that it's just not worth doing at all, in my opinion. So into the dog shit it goes. The next one we'll look at is streaming. So streaming's a funny one. When I say streaming, I mean things like YouTube, Switch, or another popular platform, which I won't say the name of just in case it gets me banned, but it starts with an O and then an F. Streaming, I think it can be very, very lucrative. I know one person who does this, and that person does, let's say, the spicier end of content. She makes a lot of money. I mean, a lot of money. The most she ever made she told us was $20,000 in 1 month. But she's also one of the least happy people I know, as well as being one of the wealthiest. So it's not necessarily because of the platform she uses. I think this one, it's difficult to. I think you can make money very quickly depending on what you do. I think if you're on Twitch or YouTube and you're live streaming, I think that can take quite a while to gain any traction, unless you combine it with things like social media. I know one guy who's I follow on YouTube who is his main thing is Twitch streaming. He talks about streaming all the time. That's his main sort of thing. He's a gamer, and he said he got more Twitch followers when he wasn't streaming, just by promoting himself on things like LinkedIn and YouTube. So they are hard to grow on unless you combine it with something else, basically. So but because the money you can make, I'm going to have to put it in A tier, just because I'd say the only downside to this is it's not really, you can scale it because obviously the more followers the more money you make, but at the same time it's still a job. You still got to get up when you say you're going to get up and do, put a shift in. So it's not strictly as passive as some of the others, but you can't really ignore it for the potential, the potential to make money. So moving on to next one is surveys. Where do you think this one's going to go? Is it S tier? No, it's awful dog shit. Don't do surveys. Survey websites are the biggest waste of time ever. Several people have covered it in YouTube videos, and they make pennies, if anything. Horrible thing. Don't do it. Next is trading. Okay, this is something I have done. I've tried doing Forex trading, and I've tried doing a bit of crypto trading. I'm not going to include kind of crypto investing in this because it's not really a side hustle, it's investing, which is separate really. Crypto, that side of things is, and all these like Dogecoin and blah blah blah. This is more picking a strategy, looking at the charts, doing technical analysis, usually in you can do it with like day trading, basically. So opening a trade and then closing it again in minutes, hours, possibly a day or two, but generally sort of short-term speculation. This is hard, and there's a lot of scammy people in this business who essentially make more money from selling courses and from YouTube and streaming of this than they do from actually doing it themselves. The amazing thing about this is it does scale. If you can do it and be consistently make money at it, you just keep increasing the amount of money that you put in as you make more money, and you can make phenomenal amounts. but it is really hard. So I'm tempted to put it in B, but I think I don't know. Personally, I find it really interesting, and I think there's so much scope. If you're even half decent at it and you make a bit of money, you can then make a huge amount of money if you combine it with things like courses, affiliate marketing, social media. So I think the potential for it's massive, and I think it probably deserves to go in A, but it is kind of scummy. So I don't know. A or B? I'm going to put it in A. I think it is. Actually, no, the trouble is you need money. To make anything decent out of it, you do need money to get started. So I'm going to leave it in B. And it's hard and it's risky. I think both times I've done it, I've either lost money or broken even. So I've never sort of consistently made money at it. So we'll leave it in B because there's too many things going against it. Okay, so down to the last three. The next one is domain or website flipping. So this is there was a bit of a craze for this a couple of years ago, particularly on YouTube. People going on about this. Essentially, it's you go to one of these kind of web hosting kind of places and you buy, like GoDaddy or something like that, and you buy a domain name. So you think of a domain name like jamesdoesthings.com, and then you go to a website called Flipper, and then you try and sell that domain name for more than you bought it for. And people said they were making lots of money doing it. One thing I've noticed, when you go to GoDaddy and you click on, you pick a name for a website, it will say to you, oh yeah, this one's available and we think that's worth $1,000, but we're only going to charge you $20 for it. It's a bit kind of, I'd say, disingenuous. Like it's not, who's to say it's worth $1,000? Nobody ever pays. People pay big money for really good domain names, like one word kind of domain names, but there's a lot of bullshit basically. So this I do like this thing, not so much for the flipping of domains. I think flipping of websites is a thing. You can see there's people on there who clearly just go to Shopify, create a Shopify like dropshipping site, and then come to Flipper and sell it, and they get maybe £100 for it, £200, depending on what it is. There are some people who get them and then run traffic to them and then sell them on. So I think there is something to it. It is something I'd consider doing. Possibly in it's the sort of thing I can imagine you'd set up a Shopify website when it's on the free trial, when it's on, I think it's £1 a month for a couple of months, and really kind of, if you really worked hard at it, you might be able to set it up in a couple of days, and then if you just worked on that non-stop and then spent a lot of time organically promoting it on social media, for instance, if you went hard on TikToks and Instagram Reels for it, I think you could potentially generate some revenue and then sell a website and say, look, it's got revenue, you can buy the whole package. So there is some potential there, but I think it's difficult, and it's beyond it is beyond a lot of people, even if a lot of it's kind of click and drag stuff. It's definitely not C tier, it's better than that. Whether it's A tier or not, there's definitely quite a bit of risk, I would say, because you're going to go and buy and spend a lot of time on stuff, and then you don't know if you're going to get anything like a decent return on it. So we'll call it B tier. I think some people definitely make a living doing it, but it's a bit obscure and a bit risky. Next one is white label SaaS, or software as a service. So with this one's a bit more, I looked into this, I never actually tried it, and this is essentially going to people who make software and software systems, and some of them will actually, they'll do what's called white labeling, which is where they give you their product with your own branding on it for you to sell to other people, and then you basically just you pay them a fee for the privilege of doing it, and you charge more. So website hosting is a good example of this. A lot of website hosting is just, you think you're buying it from one company, but it's actually just being resold from another company. And there's a lot of companies will do this. If you go and type in web hosting reseller or something like that, you can find that's one example. I saw another example today of a company that do kind of like selling platforms, so things like eBay. Let's say if you like, I used to sell coins. If I wanted to set up a coin selling market, if you want to set up like your own online marketplace, essentially this company will set it all up for you, and then you brand it how you want, and then you control who gets in and out, and you control the platform and set the fees. So there's lots of different examples of how it can work, but it's technically it's beyond most people. I would say it's beyond me, and I think you've got to have some money up front, and then you've got to promote it. So it's not really a side hustle. That's a proper business, and I've got some money to promote this and go at it properly. So that's why it's going to go in C tier. It is viable, but it's a bit hardcore for your average sort of dabbling side hustler. So last but not least, YouTube. There's only one place this is going, and it's going up here. Granted, I've never actually made money with YouTube yet. The time of filming this video, my channel has 200 and something subscribers, like 220, and you need 1,000 to get monetized. So it takes a long time to get monetized, generally speaking. The fastest people do it is generally in a day, in 30 days or so, and that's when they're really going at it. For most people, it can be months or even years. But there's nothing else like it really in terms of growing a community, getting exposure. It takes a while for eBay. Like literally, I've got 26 videos now. I think only one of them. There's only one or two that have got more than 1,000 views, but one of them has got like 10,000 views. It just went absolutely bananas. So I think once eBay figures out what you are about and who it ought to be showing your videos to, then you start getting going. And it took me a couple of months before that happened. Most of my videos were just, they get like a handful of views. But it's just I think the potential is absolutely massive, and I think any hustle I do going forward is almost certainly going to have YouTube as a component of it. I don't know what I'll do. I don't really want this channel to be my side hustle, if that makes sense. This channel is meant to be me just kind of document, like I want it to be useful, make tutorials for stuff, but it's just meant to be me, doing things, because I think when I started it I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So it's just meant to be kind of a way of me documenting what I'm doing and keeping myself on track. So I kind of want to do something else. I don't want to be one of those eBay guys who says, "Oh, you could make money doing all these side hustles, and you could try this." And I'm just showing you ones I've tried and ones which I think could work or might work. But I see all these kind of 18-year-olds on YouTube making videos saying, "Oh, you can make $1,000 a day doing this bullshit." I don't want to be one of those people who's kind of faking it till you make it, and then doing get rich quick bullshit for the YouTube views. I just want to make this is meant to be, me doing whatever I'm doing and just documenting it. So I am going to be trying a new side hustle soon. I only have limited time. I don't make enough of these videos that I'd like to. But that's going to be, I think, whatever I do next, I might do another YouTube channel with it. But I'll see. I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet. For me now, I'm doing, the reason I did this is because I need to start a new one. But before I do that, I'm going to be hitting eBay hard because I've got a lot of things to sell. I'm currently doing Dave Ramsey's Total Money Makeover, and I'm on what's called Baby Step 1, which is where you need to sell everything that isn't nailed down, pretty much, to try and grow yourself a £1,000 emergency fund. So that's my next step, and then I'm going to look at doing some kind of side hustle, probably from this top row here somewhere, maybe, and then almost certainly combining it with these. But we'll see. So if you found this video useful, please do drop me a comment and consider liking and subscribing to see how I get on in my various challenges. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks. Bye bye.